This week in movies, The Lord of the Rings has found a way without AI to bring us one final performance from one of the best actors in the first series of movies rather. The Wayans brothers are getting creative control over a franchise they started just about actually a little over 20 years ago now. And Halloween classic might just be getting a sequel if the stars align just right. We'll talk about that. Hello nerds! You have found the place for all of the nerdy movie updates worth talking about. More than just comic book movies, though that is a good chunk of what we cover here in the news. We get nerdy about all kinds of movies, as well as the art of making movies in general. If you like this kind of news reporting, then go check out the full show over on the main channel called The Week in Nerddom, where we talk about TV and comic books and gaming and rumors and etc., everything in between. You can find the link to that down in the description or at the end of this video. Now, let's hear about all that movie goodness, shall we? Our follow-up this week in movies is a little bit quick, I guess. Running Man, we've talked about the fact that they're remaking Running Man. The Glenn Powell is going to be starring in it. Edgar Wright is going to be directing it. The real quick follow-up we have this time is Michael Cera and Emilia Jones have both been asked to join the cast of the movie, which means Michael Cera will be rejoining Edgar Wright once again for another movie, and it went over pretty well last time, so why not this time too? Yeah, that's all we really got. Let's move on. Trailers. We have one trailer this week. Is for a movie called Werewolves, and it will be out December 6th. This looks like a testament for practical effects. This looks like it's going to be really great, at least visually, because of that very reason. Unless they just got incredibly good on a really low budget with the digital effects, I think that a lot of this stuff looks like it's going to be practical effect, and I am definitely here for that. Go check out the trailer, you'll see what I'm talking about. That's the only trailer, though, that we got, so let's get into regular-ass news. This week's news, we have Predator is in the news. 20th Century Studios has confirmed that there is not one but two new Predator movies in the works, one of which is very likely going to be out very, very soon. Exactly how soon was not made known, but soon. With the success of Predator Prey, it seems that basically they've given Dan Trachtenberg the carte blanche to do whatever he wants with the Predator franchise. There's also things out there that are lending one to believe that there will be a crossover, another AVP movie, hopefully undoing anything that they tried to do with the first two AVP movies. But that is definitely not explicit at this point. And also, of the two movies, only one has anything that we really know about it. The second one, they're playing really close to the chest, and they're not giving us any details on it, which has led to much speculation, which we will get to in the rumor mill, so stick around. But yeah, new Predator, not a bad thing. There's really not many terrible Predator movies if you don't include the Aliens versus Predator movies. So yeah, I'm definitely here for it to see, I don't know, not the Prey one, but the other one was not great. Either way, I'm here for it. Let's see what happens. Moving on. Next up, we have Scary Movie is our next piece. Keenen Ivory Waynes, Marlon Waynes, and what is the other Wayans? Shawn Waynes. All three Wayans brothers, not the only Wayans brothers, but the three who we know from the Scary Movie franchise, who wrote and two of them starred in the first two Scary movies, and then they were bought out by Miramax, and then Miramax went and drove the franchise into the ground, and now they've brought them back. Miramax is under new management, and so they didn't sell the rights back to the Wayanses. At least that's not the way that it's being advertised to the press at this point, but they have brought them back as producers, writers, and presumably we'll see at least one of the Wayans brothers in the next movie. But they also brought back Rick Alvarez, who also helped write the first two movies. So this should be a return to form for the Scary Movie franchise. As it stands right now, though, that's all we know. So let's move right along. Let's talk about that Trick or Treat thing I alluded to in the comic book section. Trick or Treat, director Michael Dougherty, in the recently released 4K version of the original movie, there's a new commentary track. And that commentary track, he says, he passively talks about the script for the second movie is in a good place that he wants. He's just going to be doing it all on his own terms. So certain things have to align just perfectly in order for him to pull the trigger and say, okay, it's time to do the sequel to Trick or Treat. But we could get a sequel to Trick or Treat. He has said fairly explicitly that there is a script and it is something that he likes and he does want to do it, but again, we need production staff, we need somebody who's going to distribute it, we need all of these other things to line up perfectly, and as it stands right now, that has not happened. But if it does, we'll talk about it. And then that puts us to our last piece in regular news, and that is Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim, War of Rohirrim. So we've talked about this previously. Technically, this would quantify as a follow-up, I think, but it's kind of huge. So I didn't want to talk about it in follow-up. So I want to talk about it in regular-ass news. Christopher Lee is returning for the animated movie. This is not an AI thing. I looked through a number of different articles covering this, and at least 3 different articles, and I was trying to see exactly how they're doing this. So they didn't go into explicit detail, but they did not at all mention AI was being used. They said that the vocal takes, the vocals that they're using for his animated version of Saruman is going to be from unused audio from the Peter Jackson movies. So different takes, different scenes that were cut from the movie. I don't know if they're going to qualify scenes that were in the extended version or not. That was kind of a gray area. But different takes that weren't used, different, again, scenes that were completely cut out of the movies. All of the audio that he recorded for those is being used to do the voice of his character, Saruman, in the War of the Rohirrim. This is pretty dang awesome. They got the official approval, too, from Lee's estate. Producer Philippa Boyens talked to the family of the knighted actor and got permission to use these things even posthumously in honor. And I believe it was his daughter said that he would absolutely want this to be done this way. So that's pretty freaking cool. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. December 13th is when the movie will be in theaters, if you needed the reminder. That is, though, our last piece of news for the section. Let's get into our suggestion for the week. We have movie suggestions. It's Halloween. It's time for, going to get candy and having a lot of fun and watching classic Halloween movies. Normally, right now, because this is our last episode before Halloween comes out, before Halloween happens, rather, I would be suggesting Halloween, the classic 1978 Michael Myers horror movie with the mask and the knife and the coveralls. That's the best Halloween horror movie there is. But as far as just family fun Halloween, your actual suggestion this week is going to be Hocus Pocus. I don't normally send people over to Disney Plus unless there's a really good reason, and I really feel like Hocus Pocus is a really good reason. This is just a classic Halloween movie at this point. Horror elements for sure, but not scary. It's something that the entire family can watch, and also sit and question why it's such a big deal that presumably a sophomore in high school is still a virgin. Why is that made into such a gigantic issue in this movie? I don't know, but that's the only nitpick I really have with the entire dang movie. It's a lot of fun. Go check it out. Your suggestion this week is Hocus Pocus over on Disney Plus. That brings us to the end of the video, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me for the news. Once again, there is a full and probably much more up-to-date and recent episode of the news, the full-length version, if you will, called The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, linked down in the description, and probably link popping up somewhere around my face right about now. So click on that, go check that out as well, or if you prefer your news in more truncated pieces, then by all means just stick around here and go check out some of the other stuff we offer on this channel. Thank you very much for joining me. We will see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember, nerds, that if it is generally nerdy, it's probably here.